Hey there, folks. Yep, I'm back for another episode of Outlander. And we are officially halfway through the final season. Yep, the final season ever of Outlander, Season 8. We have now hit Episode 5. That means 5 more episodes to go, and then it's done forever. Potentially. So without any further ado, let's just get straight into the episode. Episode 805, Send for the Devil, starts out with Jamie and Claire hanging out with their bees while Buck plays with the kids. In a nice way. Shut up, you weirdo, don't be like that. But anyway, Buck hears something in the woods, and since this is bear country, he gets ready. Only it turns out it's not a bear, it's the guy from the other day whose wife had the twins. And he's come to warn Jamie that he overheard some loyalists planning to capture Jamie and deliver him away to be hanged as a traitor. So of course Jamie has a plan, which involves sending one of the twins off to meet up with Fat Bastard and get reinforcements, knowing that Captain Cunning will probably have a cunning plan of his own, probably to snatch Jamie after the Masons meeting. But Jamie sees through his clever plan and they both kind of make a bit of a speech. But Jims nips out the back door while everyone's praying and runs away, because apparently these guys are really dumb and never thought to put somebody on the back door. But Jamie gets all his boys to the yard and they have a plan. They're not going to kill anyone, but they're going to try and capture Cunningham. So that night, Jamie ends up cold clocking Hiram and then goes into the shop. But for no apparent reason, Cunningham's like, "Hey buddy, I'm just going to put my gun down instead of shooting him or knocking him out or anything, just like Jamie did a minute ago to the other guy." So anyway, they end up fighting and Cunningham says, "I've changed my mind, actually I am going to kill you." But luckily Buck manages to shoot him from behind. I'm back at the Ridge. Claire's had a visit from Elspeth, who knows what's up, and they do a "well, we both know what's going to happen" chat, and they both pray a bit. And the boys come back, and turns out that Captain Cunningham isn't dead. They've got him on a stretcher. He's just shot in the spine and paralysed from the waist down, which is unlucky. And Jamie's like, I'm okay, 'tis but a scratch. And the next day everyone's chillaxing when a whole troop of riders rock up and they're like, "Oh no, bad guys." But actually turns out it's that one of the twins and Fat Bastard. And yeah, he's still a bastard, but apparently he's their bastard now. Meanwhile, in Savannah, Roger's having a bit of sword time, writing a wee letter, getting ready for a battle, and he ends up meeting a wee drummer boy. Ba-dum-pa-pum-pum, and gives him some bit of encouragement. But then, when it comes to the actual battle, he's like way behind the lines, and he's chatting to the dying, giving last rites, trying to be helpful. And then he sees the wee drummer boy, and he takes him off to the doctor. And it turns out the doctor's Denzel, which is, handy. And then he goes back and unfortunately gets blown up. Oh no. And back at Casa del Grey, Bree's doing her painting of Pigsty and really not enjoying all the boom boom booms coming from the battle. And she ends up having a wee chat with William about Jamie being an ace dad, despite both of them having other dads, and, they're bonding and stuff. And she says, "Right, okay, enough's enough, I'm definitely going to the camp to find Roger, because that's really dead easy to do during a battle." And William's like, "Yeah, why not, I'll come with you." So that night, he goes off to the garden to have a wee chat with Pigsty, and it looks like he's going to tell her he's away to the war, but, turns out she is like 100 times all kinds of horny, and is like, "Look, we don't even have to get married, let's just go for it, and, if we have a baby, we have a baby. Then we can talk about marriage afterwards." And he's like, "No, we should just get married," and agrees, and he, romantically puts his finger on her No, I'm sorry. Sorry, that's too far. Anyway, sorry about that. Look, I'm sure they bonked something terrible in the garden and gave the servants something to look at. Anyway, next day at the camp, turns out Roger's actually fine. He's absolutely fine, couple of wee scratches, just a wee boom like that, and getting blown up never hurt anybody. Anyway, they're all kinds of "how you doing?" and everyone's meeting up and everyone's like, "Hey, I remember you," and "how's things going?" and "how's everybody doing?" And then everyone goes their separate ways and William's just about to head off when, oh, it's Cousin Ben. Isn't he dead? And Will gives him a great big hug and then gives him a great big punch, because whatever is he doing here alive? End of episode. So did I think. Well, okay, I'll be bluntly honest. I think this is the best episode of the season so far. I think this is, in fact, probably a better episode than most of the episodes of Season 7. Why? Because it was well made, it had understandable stakes, it had clear character motivations, there wasn't too much dithering about, and the stuff that there was nicely interspersed between the moments of action and tension. I mean, it wasn't a perfect episode, not by a long shot, it certainly isn't the best episode of the show, but honestly, most of the storylines and most of the scenes were all pretty engaging. Which is a good sign for the midpoint of the final ever season. And also, we've tied up a little bit of storyline here and there, and some things have been building up to this. aside from a wee bit of dodgy reasoning, which is, kind of normal for the show at this point, where Jamie spelled out exactly why he has to do things and why the plot has to go the way the plot is going to go, rather than things that made sense. But the rest of it all played out fairly well. And I'm also kind of glad that this particular storyline about the Cunningham and the people on the ridge isn't entirely finished. But I'll get back to that more at the end of the video. So yeah, there was nice build-up, there was tension. It was fun, there was actually a reference to High Noon. I mean, you've maybe never seen High Noon, but High Noon is an old cowboy movie where the whole movie is the build-up to at high noon when the train arrives with all the bad guys and the lone sheriff has to try and stand off against the bad guys coming to town to kill him. And I get that was kind of what they were aiming for, although it was in a fairly minor way and almost felt a bit like an afterthought. But it was fun, and it was interesting. I mean, similarly, they did a good job with Roger out on the battlefield, and, the show's done plenty of battles. And at various times, they've channeled other films and other shows, and at this point, this felt like they were channeling Lord of the Rings, which they've done before as well, with him literally doing, like, the sort of, that scene from Lord of the Rings Two Towers, where Aragorn and the wee laddie at Helm's Deep have a bit of a chat, and this was basically just Roger and the little drummer boy. Ba-rum-pa-pum-pum. And I also liked that, we had Claire and Elspeth having a different point of view conversation, and it wasn't like a really flat, sort of badly written TV show thing where the good character has a point of view and the other character just says a load of absolute nonsense strawman arguments. It was two people, both of whom don't want the person they love to die, knowing that the pair of them are probably going to kill each other. So yeah, it was good. I mean, there was a little bit clunk here and there, but it was generally fine. I liked it. Good acting, decent work. So yeah, take it from me. I mean, although I actually did like this week's episode and it looked fine, it was interesting, it was entertaining. There were things that happened that are going to affect things going forward, which is all good. And it was also nice to see, like, lots of people turn up. There was the twins, like Kezia and Josiah, both turned up. I mean, I wonder if the actor gets paid double for that. Doubtful. But then there's also Denzel, and the twins' silly wife appeared. But of course, it wasn't without problems. And problems, people think this is just all about grumbling and complaints. Problems in a show or in a film are actually more interesting to explore, more informative about the storytelling process and how it could have been better than all the stuff that's good. So let's move on to that next. So, okay, let's start with the Roger story. So I didn't have any problem with the story itself in principle, but there were a lot of cliches in the build-up. I mean, the whole I'm writing a letter to my love far away, montage of me doing stuff, and also specifically this line.
In the name of Christ your son, let me look through it. See, if you don't, you'll have my wife to answer to.
It's kind of classic war movie stuff that's a little overblown and overdone, but, what are you going to do? And I was disappointed that the battle itself was basically just Richard Rankin standing in the middle of the woods with a bunch of extras lying down or running about, and then a few little explosions going off and some mud flying up in the air. Now, I get it. A battle scene is really expensive to make, and it's probably really hard to film and takes a long time. And this is a fairly minor part of this story. But then also, why go to the whole thing of having Roger say he wants a sword if he's so far behind the lines that we never even see a bad guy? I mean, was it just all talk? Did he just want a free sword to keep? I mean, does he basically want the equivalent of a t-shirt that says, I fought the British and all I got was this lousy cavalry sabre? And yeah, I mean, it's good that he's doing his priesty bit, which makes sense in the story and the character. But the bit where he gets blown up, I mean, that was awful. It looked terrible. And the intercutting of wee boy Roger falling back into his mum's arms with grown-ups Roger falling backwards in slow motion very badly. I mean, look, I know it's Easter weekend. Happy Easter, everybody. Go find some chocolate eggs. But maybe they were trying to mimic that bit from Passion of the Christ because it's Easter. I mean, come on. Seriously. Spoilers. Jesus dies, and then he comes back again. I wonder if that's going to happen this season. Also, Roger's literally fine. I mean, he's been blown up. There's no ballooning, there's no concussion, there's no major injuries, which is funny because this is literally what killed Angus back in season 2, but Roger's just completely fine, even though it looks like he got blown up even worse. And still in the Savannah storyline. Now, I've tried to be nice recently, and it's funny because quite a few people picked this up in the comments, but I was trying not to just come down on Sophie Skelton's acting all the time. But this week was bad. The scene when she's being affected and bothered by all the explosions going on outside kind of just looked like she was constipated. I mean, seriously, it was like, go to the toilet head and maybe eat more fibre. And it doesn't make sense from a character point of view either, because Bree is somebody we know. She goes out rooting and shooting all the time, you know, she's fine with firearms, so why do explosions and noise bother her? I mean, also, she is not somebody who is a stranger to battles and war and death. She is also somebody who literally grew up during the Cuban Missile Crisis and during the start of the Cold War. So she's really not a stranger to threat and peril and duck and cover and all that kind of thing. This is inherently a part of who she is. This would have been drilled into her from a child, but we're not getting any of that kind of thing. And also, the scenes with her and William, I mean, I'm sure they're from the book and they're probably accurate, and it is an interesting character moment. And it's partly all roads must go back to Jamie and Claire in this show, because that's what these books are, and apparently that's what the makers think the audience want at every turn, constantly, all the time. Maybe you do, I don't know, I don't. But yeah, it was also really surface level stuff. I mean, nothing that they're saying here really is bringing out an emotional character response, or growth, or a turn, or anything. It's just, yeah, it's just there. Which brings me back to another gripe, which is the previously on. Now, Outlander is shockingly bad for spoiling things in the previously on. I've said that before on other episodes. Especially for pointing out things that you're not going to find out until the last couple of minutes of the episode. And this week was a total doozy. Bringing back the dead Ben wrong corpse thing at the start basically told me, oh, okay, well, Ben's going to turn out to be alive this week. Otherwise, why? And I know that storyline's been a funny one, because at the beginning I was like, oh, I hope, you know, they're not just going to tie it off like they are. But at this point, I was like, well, no, I just don't care anymore now. I feel like it's dragged on too far without it. And William's been dithering about so much, and all the stuff between him and Pigsty flirting. It just feels like we're winding things into desperate housewives, sort of, oh no, somebody slept with somebody, oh no, kind of drama. And I'm just, at this point, I think I just don't care about that in the show. I've reached the point of not really caring. I mean, cool, get people together, but I feel like this plotline is just going around in circles. Also, at the same time, there's more interesting plotlines they could be spending time on. I mean, what's Bisexual Spyman doing? What's Fungus going to do about his lineage? You know, there are way more interesting things. Like, we don't know what Ian and Rachel are going to find out about what's happened to, you know, his ex-wife and his son. All of which are far more interesting than Will put his Willie Winky in the piggy mud hole and make Uncle Dead Ben sad. Ugh. Now, again, I don't know if this is the show or if it's Diana, like in the or if it's the writing in the original books, but I'm really tired of this storyline. It's been dragged out a while, and it's in too wobbly a fashion, and it was fun. Like, William's most fun when there's a frantic conspiracy, something going on, or he has to go on a quest, or doing a detective-y type thing, but when it's just him mooching around talking to people, he's a really boring character. And she's a really boring character because we don't know anything about her, other than she's horny as hell and has a baby. Also, does that mean that now William has come face to face with Ben, he's going to have to say,
I have had carnal knowledge of your wife.
I mean, I guess that's like adoptive father, like adopted son. I mean, you know, give me a break. Like, which also makes it bad that, you know, you shagged his wife and punched him in the face. I mean, I'm kind of, at this point, I'm really just hoping that next week rocks fall and Ben dies unexpectedly, like, or, you know, eaten by the bear that got Amy somehow. Maybe it comes back to life as well. It seems to happen a lot in this show. But yeah, as I said, this is not a bad episode. So yeah, some of the stuff could have just been better. Like silly wee bits like here, like I said, Jamie managing to sneak out the back of the lodge room, that felt a bit cartoonish, and they're like, oh no, why didn't we put someone on the back door? Which is a bugbear of mine in most TV shows. It's always kind of silly when that happens. Yeah, or like he ends up in town alone, and there's just the two main bad guys. Like, what happened to everyone else? I mean, did they film a lot of that and then cut it all out? Or are they just all off in the woods getting shot by his mates and captured? I mean, it's hard to say. It makes no sense. And if Cunningham also believed the prophecy so much, why didn't he just like walk right up and punch Jamie in the face? You know, if he thinks he can't die, why does he even bother? I mean, I guess that was why he put his gun down. But why bother putting his gun down? Surely he would believe that he couldn't get killed. So why not just walk up to Jamie and like, with the drop on him? I mean, literally, he could have just walked up and gone, right, I've got a pistol pointed at your head, mate. Drop your gun. Down on your knees, you know, tie his hands up. You know, he could have, it made no sense. But the fight was good. But also it ended with that whole cliche of, oh no, he's pointing a gun at the good guy and you hear a shot and it turns out the bad guy was actually shot by someone else. Look, nobody ever did that better than Indiana Jones, so we probably should stop trying. So where does that leave us? Okay, so we are now on the downslide. As I said earlier, there are 5 episodes left, 5 to round out this story and finish it off in a satisfactory way, and good luck to them, because this could be hard. And I will say that it's interesting looking forward the next week on little clip, which I don't often talk about, because I usually don't want to put spoilers in. But I will say it's interesting because part of it's the Ian and Rachel story, but the rest of it apparently is how does this situation resolve on the Ridge? And I bring this up because one of the things I was going to talk about this week was how it's weird that the bad guys in Outlanders never have wives. Like, we never see their wives, we never hear about them, even if, they might be there. Thinking about all the bad guys they've had on the season, from the brothers from a couple of seasons ago, to the pirate guy, to the Comte de Badness, to Blackjack, none of them ever had wives that we saw, that actually had any part in the story. And I always wonder if that's because it's just easier to kill them off if they don't have a family that we ever see. Otherwise, you can't look at them as a villain if they actually have someone at home that loves them. Unless they're shown to just be the meanest, nastiest person and actually their wife hates them. Which again is kind of a kick the dog sort of bad writing thing. So it's interesting that apparently part of the story next week is going to be about all the wives and families of these people who are on the other side. And that's an interesting point because, this is about a country in civil war. Which is well worth talking about. Also, presumably it ties up the Ian and Rachel story, presumably so they can be happy ever after, or Ian can go off and die in Magic Candy Mountain. Who knows? Other than that, what do we have left? We have Fungus and Parsley's storyline, which will definitely be getting tied up because there was shots of them in the Season 8 trailer, of them doing things that we haven't seen yet. We've also got the Jamie and the boys going off to Candy Mountain, as we said. The Faith storyline, I feel that's got to feature again, and some people have been saying that, they tied that up in episode 1 deliberately. I don't think so. I don't see how you can tie the show up without tying all of the blue magic and the time travel and Jamie's ghost and all this thing together, and I feel like if they're smart, the back 5 episodes are basically going to increasingly tie into some aspect of a storyline that builds up to that. I'm not sure they're smart though. Otherwise, there's not really much to say. Anyway. What did you all think? Let me know in the comments. As always, please don't drop any upcoming book spoilers. I'd like to get to the end without already knowing what's going to happen. But feel free to theorise or put opinions in about stuff. So until next time, these have been my grumpy opinions.